Good morning, everyone. My name is Maymana Iisa, and I am going to report designing a grammar lesson. So, before that, we will discuss about the grammar lesson. So, grammar is the breaking down of the building blocks or part of speech in language, and the use of those species to form complete sentences. So, the term part of speech. So every word has a part of speech and it refers to the role of the word that plays in a sentence. So in this lesson, we are going to discuss how to design a grammar lesson since we are already familiar with the eight part of speech such noun, pronoun, adjective, verb, adverb, preposition, conjunction, and interjection. So, number one, start by prepping yourself. So, acknowledge what you know and embrace what you don't know. So, hindi lahat ng salita ay alam natin. So don't get down on yourself about this. English language is vast, malawak yan. So before you teach a story, you likely look at the vocabulary and search the author in the time period. So next, you consult the standard to understand the expectations. So you probably read the story a few times and take notes. Pag nagbabasa ka ng mga story, yung hindi mo maintindihan, tinitake note mo yan at gina-search mo. Then you might watch a version of the movie and prepare to show you to your class the clips. You fill the book with the sticky notes and take note in the margin. Ang mga teacher ay nag-study din yan before they teach. So go through similar motion with the grammar lesson plan. First, use the answer key to practice the concept. Research the idea and read about teaching it. Anticipate where students might struggle. So, for instance, when teaching a sentence structure, I can anticipate the students will need to review the relative pronouns and subordinating conjunction. So, dito papasok yung scaffolding. So, scaffolding where you should add support for your students in order to enhance their learning. For number two, provide an anticipatory set. So it refers to an activity to focus the attention of the class to get ready for the lesson that will follow. So it is also known as the hook, the lead, or set induction. Activate prior knowledge and hopefully provide a transition. Normal anticipatory set that you use with other lessons will help you build a grammar lesson. So, ito yung motivation or pampagana sa mga bata. So, for example, when you start a lesson, you could begin with something like this. Today, we are going to continue our study about noun. So, before you begin with that study, let's take a look at this video. And for example, video about parallelism, verb voice, verb moods in other language concept exist. So aside from videos, here are some possible introductions for a grammar lesson. First, ask students to label example of the concept. So for example, you can use the pink sticky note to identify the noun of a sentence and then a blue sticky note to identify the adjectives in a sentence. So number two, the brainstorm a list of concepts. So for example, if you are teaching simple sentences, then ask the students to list two simple sentences and then start combining that two simple sentence. Then after combining into compound sentence, in that way of combining sentence is fun. because it is an anonymous way. Magkakaiba sila ng sentence, di ba? So when you combine it, so uh, it's not complete sentence kasi di ba magkaiba sila ng sentence. So lastly, the show students they already write using the concept. So ask the students to pull a sentence from a piece of writing or invent one of them. For number 3, give direct instruction but connect the concept. So many grammar lesson plan include direct instruction in some capacity. So when it comes to direct instruction, students need to hear and need to see the concept explained by their teacher. So before they ask to work independently, so lahat naman ng bagay ay kailangan explain muna to understand by your students. So, but not every part of a grammar lesson should be direct instruction. And when you teach a grammar lesson, you can use chunk information. The direct instruction part of a grammar lesson is the perfect time for chunk information. So if you return to the sentence structure, for example, you might chunk your grammar lesson in several ways, totally dependent upon where your students are in their understanding. Yung iniisa-isa muna yung topic mo to understand by your students. So for instance, subject and verb. So explain mo muna what is subject and what is verb. So pag na understand nila yon, so you can give an examples and answer by them. So pag na-understand nila yon, you can jump to other lesson. For example, the type of conjunctions, type of clause, and simple and compound sentences. So, junk your lesson at the point your student need. So, hindi lahat ng bata ay fast learner. May mga bata na hindi nila maintindihan pag hindi mo in-explain ng maayos. So for the fourth one, build up the examples and you will show. So during the first year or so you deliver grammar lessons, giving examples for grammar may seem nerve-wracking. So have an entire examples ready but leave out the subject or proper nouns. For example, blank and blank love ice cream, and blank love to play badminton. So this sentence in formation is compound subject, verb, direct object. So ask your students to provide two subjects to complete the sentence. So allow them to complete this sentence kung naintindihan ba nila yung lesson nyo. So as you become more comfortable with student-generated lessons, you can allow students to add more parts of the sentence without planning. Or eventually, your grammar lesson plan sample will be filled with strong and funny examples. For the for the fifth one, warm up or practice. So let students practice and practice until they perfect. Provide students with teen problems to practice with partners. Circulate the classroom so you can identify misconceptions and reiterate part of the lesson. So with grammar, repetition needs to happen. Ika nga, practice until you understand. So practice lang ang kailangan sa lahat ng bagay to make it perfect. So give your student a worksheet, so let them answer if they know how to construct a sentence. So by using this WH questions, what, when, who, where, and why. So for example, this number 1, blank, are you going? So malalaman mo kung alam ba nila ang dapat na uh, sentence. Kumbaga, may pwede silang mag-answer ng when are you going or who are you going. So you can know if they know what WH should put. So, kung alam nila yon, you can give an assignment. For the sixth one, give students an manageable assignment. So, ask your student to complete a sentence or 5 or 10 sentences are enough. So, pwede din gawin tong exit ticket. In that way, malalaman mo kung naintindihan ba nila yung lesson nyo or kailangan pang ulitin. So, for example, write the past, present, and future tense form of each verb in the boxes below. For example, shout, past tense, shout, you can add ed. Present tense, I shout. I, and future tense, I will shout. So, dito mo malalaman kung alam ba nila yung past tense, present tense, or future tense. So, 7, evaluate the result. So, in evaluating a result, don't expect perfection. And except lang if magaling yung mga estudyante mo. So, consider the process used to convey the material in the assessments. So, if the result of your grammar lesson is are poor, kung mahina yung result mo, so you can provide other way to study the material or teach it again. So lastly, connect the concept the rest of the class. So it allows teachers to introduce the new vocabulary which students will see in the assigned text. It provides teachers with information about how much the students already know about the topic. It familiarizes students with the vocabulary of the new topic or book. So, okay, for example, in the book, pwede mong itanong sa mga estudyante mo kung bakit ito ang ginamit ng author, bakit niya ginamit itong salita. So, refer to the author. So, bakit ito yung ginamit niya? As a teacher, we should help the students become expert in communication. So show to your students that grammar lesson help us understand literature. For example, provide students with a list of terms or concepts from reading materials. Students place words into different categories based on words meaning. So to be succeed is to connect grammar to other part of the class. Uh, embracing grammar as an essential part of language art by following scaffold, review, provide multiple learning opportunities. And that's all for the designing a grammar lesson.